We are live.
Hey everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is another member of the Blue Man Group,
Chris.
For those of us listening to the audio version of this show, we are both wearing blue, and I figured that was kind of funny to say.
It was perfect. Let me switch scenes real quick to one that's going to be messed up and fix something. And we're back. Welcome everybody. Good to see you again on the same bat time, same bat channel. Or that'd be amazing time, amazing channel. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I don't really want to have anything to do with bats, Chris. They probably, a misconception that they carry rabies. Like every bat carries rabies, but I don't want to have rabies.
As far as I'm concerned, they're flying rats, and I don't like rats or mice or really any rodents or vermin whatsoever.
But a bat's not a rodent; it's a mammal.
Fine, don't care.
So you don't like mammals? You don't like your wife?
No, I don't like bats.
Your wife and daughter are bats?
I was specific. No, you're making things up now. I was specific. I'm just telling you, I don't care whether they are or are not rodents. They look like it, and they're creepy crawly, and I don't like them. You know that scene in Ace Ventura? Yep. To this day, one of the funniest scenes to me ever because it's so true.
I don't know which scene you're talking about.
Die, winged spawn of Satan. You know. Well,
okay.
The great white bat or whatever it's called.
Oh, in Ace Ventura 2?
Oh, I didn't say 2. You're right. My bad. Yep.
When nature calls?
Yep. That's the one.
Oh, okay. Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. Had a little bit of a hectic start to the pre-show or whatever you want to call it. Getting the yard mode. I've got multiple daughters' birthdays. Okay, it's on one. They're both on the same day, to be fair. On Saturday, we have some birthday parties for my girls that were...
Which their birthdays were a month
It's like a month late. Yeah, it's like a month late. We were on vacation in June, so...
Yeah, excuses are like assholes, Chris.
Well, yeah, and her best friend couldn't come the week before, so yeah.
You didn't want to take her on vacation with you? Oh, come on.
Yeah. Although...
You didn't want yet another little girl on vacation with you?
Although she's getting to the age now that we're like camp and stuff, like we just left her. Well, we've done this for a year or two now, but we left her at grandma's.
You just left her out in the woods, and you're like, "Oh, you're at camp, darling. You're at camp. Don't tell the cops about this camp that we took you to."
Yeah, she doesn't know any better. You know, she just thinks that's normal for every kid. We're basically a cult. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, fantasy football. No, I'm excited to talk about some guys we like based on ADP. It's mid-July. It's right around that time you want to dip your toe in the ADP waters. Also the mocking waters. We're going to try to get one of those under our belt tonight on Sleeper before time runs out.
Time pending.
Time pending, of course. Reminder for the folks at home, you saw me fix this thing maybe early on in the stream. Having a little difficulty with the pop-up chat, but it reminds me to remind y'all, save your questions for the end. We're more of a podcast radio show format. Get our content done, get it out there, and hopefully leave time at the end for questions. Hey, maybe during the mock, we can bounce some stuff back and forth. I do have chat pulled up here. Other than that, I don't know. What you got, Josh?
I have a lot of lack of sleep.
Oh, not good. Well, you're pulling at least 50% more weight with a job and a half, so to speak.
I think that's, what is that, some kind of fat joke?
No. No.
Well, you would be right by saying so, but
not my usual bag of tricks as far as jokes go, but okay.
Chris,
no, just
here. I got a bone to pick real quick since we're on the fat jokes.
Okay.
It's not actually about fat jokes. It's about me being a gentleman who is larger. Typically, the ladies that are thinner than I am are not really that enthused to be with me. Not a 100% blanket statement, but a lot around here that seems to be the case. So why are all these skinny fellers taking the bigger girls? I kind of don't like it. I was at a restaurant the other day. By the other day, I mean like 3 weeks ago. This rather, I don't know, I guess you could say mildly attractive man with a kind of a heftier girl. And I'm not saying to make fun of the girl at all. She was quite lovely. I was like, wow, that girl's pretty attractive. And then her boyfriend showed up and I'm like, all right, man, what the hell? Go chase down some sorority girl or something. You know, like they weren't that young, but still, you know, like, come on, give a guy a chance here.
Stay on your side of the tracks type of thing.
Yeah. I also live in Iowa City where it has a really large, lesbian population too. And it's just like, I can't catch a break around here, Chris. And it's a little frustrating at times. I'm not sad. I'm just frustrated.
I can understand that. That. Obviously, I don't understand it lately because I'm a happily married man. But the fish in the sea seem to be far and few between.
Shrinking?
The good. There you go. Yeah.
Global warming? Oh, we're going to blame global warming on this.
Yes, climate change.
Josh can't get a date because of global warming.
And Chris is adjusting his camera live on the stream. But hey, that's what the second week is for, folks.
There we go. We've boiled it down to a scientific fact that there's climate change there's global warming, and that's why I can't get a date.
Yep. Sounds legit.
And it's definitely not because the Earth is flat, because that's not true at all.
No, not at all.
All right, Chris. I believe you have a little bit of news since I got that little bit of
I do somewhere.
Just complete and utter tangent off of my chest.
Yeah, I have something. I had a clip brought up here, and now I can't find
Okay, why you do that, Chris? I saw an ad for Twinkies the other day.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about a Twinkie, Chris?
I feel pretty good. I like Twinkies.
When was the last time you had a Twinkie?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm picky with my sweets, unlike I used to be, I guess, when I was younger. So, like, I love me some cheesecake. I'm down with some ice cream. Big cookie fan, but I just don't do candy like I used to. And I understand Twinkie is not a candy, but Twinkie is one of those things.
I think it's just straight junk food. It's just bad for you all the way around.
I guess I just pass on junk food more than I used to. But don't get me wrong, I still eat like poo. I don't eat
And
poo.
You're still a fairly slim feller, so for that, you can go to hell.
Well, I'm lucky and blessed. But maybe cursed in other ways. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm not hoping you'll have a heart attack soon, but you'll probably have a heart attack soon. You're like, but it was so thin, Doc. And you're like, yeah, but it all went straight to your arteries, Chris.
Yep. Might want to be on the lookout. The quick bit of news is a couple of tight ends, and I guess a quarterback. Mike Gesicki, Dolphins, not expected to receive an extension. He was franchised, I believe. Speaking of franchise tight end, Dalton Schultz is unlikely to sign whatever extension may be on the table from the Dallas Cowboys. So it looks like these two tight ends might move forward with the tag, which might be the kiss of death for next year.
Not really fantasy-wise. Sorry to interrupt. Not really fantasy-wise, but I feel like this is really smart for the Cowboys. Is it going to going to go the way of Dak and they're going to end up paying more for Schultz? I don't know. But
I think if you
because Dak's number, the Cowboys waiting on Dak was just asinine to wait another year for the price. It was only going up; it wasn't going down.
Sure.
But for Schultz, I don't know if it's going to get much more than what is it, $12 million this year?
That's what his tag is, which is the average of the top
something like that.
5 or 10. I can't remember what the
It's
first
an average.
one is.
It's an average of the top 5 paid.
And then the next one is the top 3, I believe, if you get franchise. To better answer the question, or to give my answer to the question, I think when Cowboys Nation / Cowboys fans saw the franchise tag, feels like a year ago, but it was several months ago.
Welcome to COVID.
After the season, we're like, I just don't think he's a long-term guy. And I think now, as you just put it very well, if you look at it kind of like a 1 year contract, not such a bad deal. You got to have a guy there. He proved himself last year. We lost Amari. Sorry, Homer, whatever. They lost Amari. Targets need to be soaked up somewhere. Cedric Wilson, slot receiver.
Thank you.
Yep. So you lose X amount of targets. Sure. The signing makes sense from that regard, and the lack of an extension makes even more sense when you're like, you know what? We might just be renting you for a year. We're pretty good at drafting tight ends. You are exhibit, I don't know, A, B, C, D. Yeah, so I think we'll be fine if we pick up a guy a little bit higher than, say, a third or fourth, or third or second. I don't know who's out there in the next couple of drafts. But, yeah, I think it might just be a 1 year rental, stick around. Or, he may not get a ton of offers next year when this comes up. And maybe the bargaining
potentially they'll get him for even less. I don't think they'll get him for less, but
that's what I'm getting
less,
at.
But,
yeah, they're a shrewd, cheap franchise in terms of managing the cap. So I expect them to continue doing that.
Yep.
Oh, other than that, Garoppolo resumed throwing. That's just relevant in terms of who or whom you don't think will get that job. Yeah. So other than that, we're ready for our guys. Our guys to target.
Real quick before we do our guys. Do you take any? Okay. What was I going to say? There was a question I saw on Twitter. Where do you put DK Metcalf if Jimmy Garoppolo gets traded to the Seahawks? Where do you draft him in redraft? You give me your answer just real quick. Off the top of your head.
I don't think I'd move him up much more than a half a round. I'm not even sure. He might climb one guy in wide receiver rankings. I'm really not moving the needle that much because I don't think he plays to DK's strengths. I don't think DK is good in short space. I think DK is good as deep. I think DK is good when I think DK is good when you give him a head of steam and a little bit of running room. Try him to get that big body up to speed. He's not a slot guy. He's not a what's his name in Pittsburgh, Deontay. He's not that. He's not a who's the best at it? I don't know. Think of the best slot in the league or whatever. It's just not him. Garoppolo does not throw the better deep ball. Like his deep, most of his throwing stats deep down the field are unimpressive. Bottom of the league.
I'm trying to dig this out real quick here. So right now,
Debo's
to Fantasy Pros,
Debo's a great example of somebody that works with him. Obviously.
Yeah, right.
yeah. Revisionist history, Chris. But seriously,
according to Fantasy Pros consensus, right now DK Metcalf is going 42nd overall, as the wide receiver 15. I said that he would slot in somewhere between Tyreek Hill and going as the wide receiver. Oh, sorry, further down. So my bad. Somewhere between T. Higgins, the wide receiver 12, and Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver 13. So he would be wide receiver 13.
But beforehand, he was almost a low end 2 at 18. I think you said.
Sure.
Consensus, that is, not your own ranking.
I'm not listening to myself. Wide receiver 15.
Really? Yeah. No, I'm out. No, I'm good. I really don't care. Like I just.
That would jump him a whole round, essentially.
Plus what they're going to have to do to get Garoppolo at that point, pick him up off waivers. Seriously,
I would trade for him.
There's Baker got a 5th. I mean, how much are you really going to have to pay for a guy that they might cut anyway? Because they can cut him, to San Francisco. That is free and practically free and clear. I think
San Francisco is going to hang on to him and trade him if they can, because otherwise the Seahawks could just pick him up off.
I think they're waiting for not necessarily desperate. That might be the wrong word. They're waiting for a team to kind of overachieve.
Matt Ryan to get hurt and the Colts come be like, we'll take DDG off your hands.
Well, Yeah, that's a lot of
A perfect example.
That's some Colts hate there. Some masochism.
The Colts are my team too, so I can hate on them all I want.
Exactly. No, I'm saying seriously though, like a team that is competitive. Oh, we're 4-0. Oh, we're 6-2, and we're a little more competitive than we thought we'd be. We think we're a quarterback away, and the guy that's there is either A hurt or B, like the Bears, potentially not good enough. Just can't, you know what I mean? Like defense overperforms. Suddenly we're in it, and hey, let's put the chips in, man. Let's, like I said, a fourth for Garoppolo or whatever the heck it cost him, nothing basically. And then
how dare you
try and get in the playoffs, and hey, keep your job as a head coach, whatever the situation may be. That's what they're waiting for. But to answer to secondarily answer your DK question, I just don't think it moves the needle that much. I don't think he plays the DK strengths very well. I'd have liked Matt Ryan in Seattle, before all this other stuff shook out in Indy and Atlanta and whatnot. But it's just a better deep ball. He's not the best deep ball thrower, but a better deep ball thrower.
Yeah, he's not bad. And I think he showed last year that he can still do it. He's maybe not as good as he once was, but I think he can still
Hall of Famer?
Chuck it down the field.
Hall of Famer?
Matt Ryan?
Yeah.
No. I think he went to Indy to try and become a Hall of Famer to win a championship.
Oof. Okay. Well.
I think he needs it.
Okay,
I don't think his overall yardage and performance is just good enough to get him in without a ring. I hate to have that ring conversation that we always have, but I think in Ryan's case,
you got to do it with QBs. You kind of have to do it with QBs. It's not the deciding factor, but it factors in.
It certainly helps.
Yep.
Anyways, so Chris, these are the guys that we're calling pick me guys that we are into. Chris put in the show description for the stream ADP, but I was just kind of overall. ADP certainly helps, but just overall guys that I kind of found myself drafting in a couple mock drafts over this past week without Chris.
Well, I think in a roundabout way, if not direct way, that plays into drafting against ADP because you're in a popular, sleeper or Yahoo.
As much as you can, much as you can poo on ADP all you want. But I mean, not you. I'm saying you as the generally the public. If anyone's going to poo on ADP, it's like, well, that's the average draft position. That's where they're going.
And I swear, no matter how much one may deny it, they're influenced by those. For example, default Yahoo pre-draft rankings. If that's the mock room you happen to be in, absolutely you are. You'll only scroll so far.
Influences your draft so much.
Exactly. So let's not pretend like we're all immune to it. But moreover, I took my guys kind of ADP down. Like I kind of worked my way down, look for a guy in a certain area. They're like, if I were mocking right now, and obviously based on my previous mocks, these are guys I like because of their value. So I think that plays in ADP easily. You want to go first or what?
Sure, I will go first.
Okay.
Chris, something you don't know because I haven't shared my guys with you. I shared one of my guys with you, and then I turned out to be false. I'm sorry, dude. He will definitely be an honorable mention. My first pick me guy is Mark Andrews.
We're gonna overlap a little bit, so I'll go after you.
He was the tight end one last year, which anyone who played fantasy football last year doesn't find this as much of a surprise. I won a dynasty championship on the back of Mark Andrews and some other, slackers, or at least 2020 slackers. Anyways, but I find myself consistently drafting or either heavily considering Mark Andrews at the end of the second, the beginning of the third, which is kind of where I don't know if I'm going more earlier than the end of the second. And I kind of talked about this last week, and I definitely talked about it last year, although last year it was with Darren Waller. It was Darren Waller at the end of the second, beginning of the third. Now this year it's Mark Andrews. That didn't work out for me so well last year because Waller got injured. Hunter Renfrow kind of emerged, and there was also just some really bad coaching, and just the entire team was kind of mismanaged last year. So, I'm going with Mark Andrews this year. He was the tight end one, like I already said. And the reason why is I'm really, really sick of the tight end roulette on a week-to-week basis. Streaming tight ends, hoping that one of them scores a touchdown. Maybe I hit it, maybe I don't. I'd rather just draft the guy early, spend that capital, because then I don't have to worry about the tight end position. like even if you're in a flex league where you can flex 2 tight ends, who's flexing 2 tight ends in this day and age? You know how, Chris? Do you remember why that's now an option? Because it never used to be. I'm not even going to give you a chance to answer. It's because of Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski. Because there was guys like me who drafted both of them.
He tells this story all the time.
I know, and I'm still mad about it. But it's the reason why, because people were like, why can't I flex the tight end? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could have. But I had 2 premier tight ends that year. I think the tight end 1 and 2, actually. I had to trade one of them away because I couldn't use them, which was Gronk, and I got a running back, and I won the league. It's all water in the bridge.
Well,
now.
And not to invoke a POS name, but Hernandez was a thing in New England for a couple of seasons.
That was the same season.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, in fact, I kind of think that's why I brought it up. But
Hernandez got hurt about halfway through.
Yeah,
but
overall, the tight end well was deeper, regardless of New England's situation.
A little bit, yeah.
It was.
Anyways, so like back to my rant about tight ends is that I'm not, and if I miss out on Andrews, I might check in on maybe Kittle and where I can get him, and maybe like the 4th. But if I can't, I'm not. It kind of depends on how the draft goes for me and how it's going in general for me to do that. But I'm kind of Andrews or bust at the end of the 2nd, beginning of the 3rd on that whole. If I miss out, I'm just gonna wait forever and draft a couple of tight ends super late in the draft and hope one of them hits, and just go home and cry myself to sleep after the draft when I look at my tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. As of right now, if the cards were to fall in no particular order, and I'm looking at like an AJ Brown, Josh Allen, or Tyreek Hill, like kind of in that end of the 2nd, beginning of the 3rd, I'm smashing that draft Andrews button. And so before you do your thing here, Chris,
mm-hmm.
I already said Andrews was tight end 1 last year. He scored 30.8 more points than the second tight end.
That was a huge
and that
gap.
was Travis Kelce.
Huge gap.
Now, Chris, do you know what the number 77.8 means in this conversation?
His catch percent?
77.8 is the number of differential between Mark Andrews' points and the number 3 tight end last year. 77.8 points.
So you're demonstrating almost a secondary and even much worse cliff.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Because it just
that's
falls
why
off.
and that's why I want to try and get. I don't even like. I if someone were to be like, "Hey, it's the beginning of the 2nd, I want to draft Kelce or even Mark Andrews," I'd be like, "Yeah, whatever, man. It's your team. I don't blame you because of that reason. That cliff drop off is huge." By the way, Chris, do you know who the tight end 3 was last year?
Ugh, dang it! You're gonna put me on the spot. Schultz.
You got it, buddy. You got it.
I had Knox in the back of my head, but he got hurt a bit. They were both overachievers.
I mean, I guess I don't know. And the reason I'm out on Darren Waller is obviously Devontae Adams is in Las Vegas now. Hunter Renfrow last year kind of emerged, and Darren Waller had a hard time really jiving with even Hunter Renfrow, as like I said, I've said numerous times. There was only 2 games last year where they both scored over 10 points in the same game. So it was well, if one ate, the other one. You're
making the argument it was one or the other with Renfrow.
Yep.
And,
if one ate, the other one went hungry, sort of thing.
Okay.
So
no, I'll just add a little bit to the Andrews conversation. I have him at 301. We both went to different websites. We're only about a part of pick or two. It's not relevant. It's not.
No,
relevant.
that's where I believe that's what Fantasy
Is that what you
Pros
said?
has him at.
Okay,
no, I just said the end. That's where I would take him.
Yeah, you said end of 2nd, beginning of 3rd. So obviously, I agree with you there because what you laid out in terms of the tight end landscape. But I'll add also that just based on team construction, like I don't have a problem investing that late 2nd, early, especially if I'm at the turn. If I can sew up that position. Because I'll remind people that Kelce had hit the height of his powers 2 years ago, let's call it, was arguably a 1st-round pick. And I was one of the ones that was like, you know what? If he's there at like 111, 112, I'll pull the trigger. I'm a little lower on him than others, not as quite wanting to land him at the 108 or what have you. I only have to pay up to if he falls a bit at the beginning of the 3rd for Mark Andrews, who I firmly believe is the tight end 1. Again, going back to what you said about the disparity percentages from tight end 1 to 2 to 3. huge cliffs to fall off there. So yeah, I'm right there with you. That's why I included him in my guys that I like based on value, based on ADP, based on where I'm getting them in mocks for sure.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how Kelsey is over Andrews, but they have more or less the same argument for each other as well. Tyreek Hill's gone in Kansas City. Marquise Brown is not Tyreek Hill, but at the same time, the number one wide receiver from Andrews' team is gone. Now it's just those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hollywood's gone.
At the moment a bunch of scrubs, more scrubs than.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of Bateman love. I'm hearing a lot of Bateman love, and I'm not saying there's not a part of me that wants to buy in, but I don't think this offense can sustain a fantasy 1. Okay, maybe a top 24. Yes, I saw some success from Hollywood last year, but it was
early though. It wasn't late.
It was also hit or miss, like he's always been. And like always. Lamar has always been. He just won't use the receivers in certain games because A, Andrews, as we just touted over and over, and B, he's maybe one of the best running threats from the position we've seen ever, except for maybe Vic. But that's neither here nor there.
What about Peyton Manning? He was a great rusher.
Yeah, Brady was a better rusher from like half a yard out. I feel like he took a lot of... Peyton wasn't known for taking quarterback sneaks. I think it was Brady, if I'm not mistaken. Back in the day.
Peyton cannot run. By the way, he is the most awkward, stiff, upright runner I've
There's
ever seen.
There's that one play action fake in. I want to say it was like a first round playoff game, but I might be making that up. But there's one infamous one where it was either Edgerrin or a die where they were actually pretty good on the ground, and it was just this. They dominated to get it down there on the ground, and so he play fakes it and runs it in on a naked bootleg because everybody in the world was like, nah. All right, who you got? Should I go next? Because I just kind of went with Andrews. But
no, I'll go again.
Okay.
Guess what?
Yes, what?
My next guy is Breece Hall.
Oh, God dang it. I didn't get around to get much on him, so maybe this works out well for all of us involved, including the audience.
For the umpteenth time, Chris, the Jets pulled a Colts an Indianapolis Colts circa 2020. They traded up 2 spots to secure their guy. The Colts did it with JT, Jonathan Taylor, and the Jets are doing the same thing, or did the same thing in April with Breece Hall. And for those of you who have been living under a rock, Breece Hall was drafted in the 2nd round by the New York Jets out of Iowa State. I almost said Ohio State. Chris, do you remember, like, right after the draft, I think it was at your house still, and I was like, I'm just not really into Breece Hall. Do you remember that?
Yep, I remember.
Yeah. Well, I've done a 180. I'm into Breece Hall now. And here's kind of why. And I don't understand this at all, so maybe you can shed some light on this. He's currently being drafted, according to Fantasy Pros ADP, he's currently being drafted as the RB24, 49th overall, which is the very first pick of the 5th round. What's up with that, man? Like,
it's ridiculously low. As is
it's
the
almost criminally low.
As is the 6.09 that I got from Fantasy Football Calculator.
That's even more ridiculous.
Yeah. So I mean, we're getting a lot of best ball drafts.
And that's where I'm wondering some of this, the Fantasy Football Calculators is coming from.
Yeah, like it may not be a good thing. Fantasy Football Calculators getting more source. Anyway, I don't know who's doing best ball and who's not. Point is, that obviously is influencing it. But I have to agree with you. Both 5th round. I mean, maybe I can be like, okay, maybe that feels more right. I don't think Michael Carter's going away either. So there's that. But no, I think Breece Hall is in for a great year. I think the offense has made steps. I've made numerous comments about how much I like the direction they're taking, both with coaching and with personnel. Now we'll see with Zach Wilson. Apparently he's a Twitter whatever, or his mom is, or I don't know, man. It's so hard to keep up with.
It's like a soap opera going on.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So
he slept with his mom's best friend, and that was exposed by his Zach Wilson's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, I just looked this up tonight. I'll be honest with you. I was like, what is
I don't even know if that's real. I'm just why am I wasting time? Weird.
This is why I had nothing on Breece Hall, is because I was looking at Twitter.
You went down a Twitter hole.
Yeah, for sure. No, I just think the kid, meaning Breece Hall, has the head on his shoulders to excel right away. We've seen numerous rookie running backs step into situations ready-made for them. Yes, this isn't as ready-made as maybe we'd like, but we've seen Jonathan Taylor as Exhibit A come into a situation
where
where
you want to hear about Jonathan Taylor's rookie season? Just
yes,
to interrupt
I do.
you.
Yeah, because that's
okay,
exactly
so
where
Jonathan
it's
Taylor,
heading.
if everyone remembers in 2020, the Colts still had Marlon Mack.
Exactly.
But they still drafted Jonathan Taylor because it was kind of hard to pass up on him. But here's what happened. Marlon Mack tore his ACL or his Achilles in week 1. What did Jonathan Taylor end up doing that season? He ended up being the RB6. It was an ugly RB6 that year in 2020. But Nyheim Hines was still the RB20 overall. So the Colts sustained 2 top 24 running backs that year. Now, I'm not saying that the Jets are going to be the 2020 Colts, but the Colts also had the very last year of Phillip Rivers' career, his football career that year. And I think Zach Wilson's a little bit better. Also, according to PFF, they have the Jets ranked as their 12th best offensive line overall, which is down from 10 at the end of the 2021 season. Granted, it was 2 different guys writing 2 different articles, so there's a little bit of opinion base there. But the Jets were more or less without Mekhi Becton last year too. So there's potential for the Jets offensive line to get better. And you know what better offensive lines mean? That means bigger holes, more time to pass, yada 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 yada. Still, here's some Breece stats for you, because that's what his friends call him, Breece. I like to call him Bree, but he doesn't like that very much. I'm constantly like, hey, Bree, and he's like, Breece, and I'm like, sorry, Bree, and he's like, Breece, and I'm like, sorry, dude. Anyways, Bree, he had almost 4,000 rushing yards in college, 734 receiving yards, which for a running back in college, that's not too bad.
For sure.
And 56 touchdowns. That was in 38 collegiate games that I could tell. 38 games, 56 touchdowns. That's bananas.
Yeah, it's
for
nuts,
an
dude.
Iowa State team that wasn't really that great. They weren't bad, but Brock Purdy went. I'm going to go with that, him being their quarterback.
Okay, we'll go.
Wasn't that great of a quarterback for him. Wasn't bad, but wasn't that great either. Breece Hall, he also finished top 10 in Heisman voting in 2020 and 2021, the 2 worst years of my life, but some of the 2 best years for Bree. Michael Carter, he was a 4th round pick for the Jets. That's not nothing, but that's also can easily be a throwaway pick too. So, and that's really Breece Hall's only threat. If you say Tevin Coleman, I swear to God, I'll do something awful to you.
So let's cut to Chris and talk about my other guy.
I will put a bag of flaming dog poo on your front porch.
I hate the wrong
I'll get it out of your backyard too.
Anyway, no, I was not going to say anything about Tevin Coleman. I think we're on the same page there.
Anyway, so that's my spiel. Okay, wait. One more thing about Breece Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Fantasy Pros, here's some guys going ahead of Breece Hall, and you tell me whether you like him more or not.
What are the other?
DJ Moore, Lamar Jackson, Darren Waller, Elijah Mitchell, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts. What do you think about those names?
I think I like Jacobs better, maybe Pitts.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, he's one of my guys in this show, so.
Well, way to spoil it.
Yes.
Now I don't have to stick around to the end of the show.
Spoiler alert.
Just leave.
Edit. Oh, wait, can't edit. We're live. That's right. Sorry.
I would like to edit live.
Apparently, so was our test thing last week. Let's take that out.
Anyways, I would take Breece above all those guys.
Waller tipped my interest a little, and as I said, Elijah Mitchell.
Maybe Jalen Waddle I would go over Breece Hall, maybe. And I mean, if I was drunk enough, Kyle Pitts.
Pitts was basically how would I put it? A wide receiver 1 or 2 pick kind of feel to it, like I could see.
Okay, here's my thing about Pitts.
Just
is
the
Pitts
targets.
Is Pitts quarterback proof?
I don't know. Matt Ryan wasn't very good last year. We had plenty of time to talk about Pitts in other shows.
Oh, I
Pitts.
thought you were going to talk about Pitts.
No. Jacobs is one of my guys, not Pitts.
Ew. Oh my God.
I said that. I
wasn't listening to you. Why would I listen to you?
Exactly. Speaking of listening to me, I might need to run upstairs real quick because I can't find my phone and I don't want to have an emergency happen or something. But either way, we got some guys to talk about. Who do you have next?
We're going to be right back.
Well, we've overlapped the two. Oh, no, I was going to say a little bit about Breece Hall. Again, just base. I could even see that ADP rising, whether it's in the sixth.
I don't know. I could not stay that low.
So I don't know if we want to put the argument to each of us as far as a 4th round pick. I think I'm still fine with that if we're talking mid to late 4th.
Well, as of right now, according to Fantasy Pros, he's the beginning of the 5th. So, and I just listed a bunch of guys, which makes them pretty early in the 4th, which I would gladly do.
Yeah, and I only had 2 names, and I'm really close with Jacobs. I don't have RB rankings for everybody just yet, but we'll get there.
Says you.
But I think Carter will catch the ball some. But I still think you're going to get 40 to 50 catches out of Breece. And on the ground, I think he's going to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he's the more talented. He might be one of the more talented guys on the team. Mekhi Becton, with Mekhi Becton coming back, I know there was rumors about work ethic and size. Bigger guy, got to put in the work to stay in shape.
Are you body shaming Mekhi Becton?
I swear this guy. No, Josh, I'm not. So I see, and again, Zach Wilson taking a step. He kind of took a step in terms of winning some games and putting up some yards last year.
At the end of the year, yeah.
Yep, exactly. It wasn't winning us fantasy games. I'm not making a ridiculous claim like that, but if you keep your eye on the both the film and the box score, yeah, he looked pretty decent. It's kind of coincided with Carter putting up good numbers when everybody was like, hey, maybe there's something here with Carter, especially catching the ball. So, no, I think Carter will be there to spell, to be a third down guy. I don't think they want to throw a ton of workload on Breece Hall's shoulders in year 1. But, I mean, you're still talking well over 200 touches, probably over 250. Again, I think he's going to catch 40 to 50 balls. Money. I think he's going to be a great value in the, I guess we could say, late 4th or 5th right now.
I think it's going to end up being an early 3rd or late 3rd. Sorry.
Now we're talking, Andrews territory.
That's getting a little rich.
Andrews or Breece Hall?
Andrews every day.
All right. But that's all I was going to add on about Breece Hall.
Are we going to, after these messages,
we can do that, or you can go on to your 3rd guy, and I'll be right back. The 3rd?
Let's just be right back.
Okay. Folks, we'll BRB. I got to take care of something. We're upstairs. It'll be less than 5 minutes. All right, folks, we'll be right back. We'll be right back. All right. 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 And we're back, folks. Sorry for that delay. Everything's fine. I had my phone down here the whole time. It was just over there. Let's welcome Josh back. And who we got next? Uh-oh. I lost you. Can't hear you.
I'm back.
Thank goodness, because I was like, it's not me. I swear I didn't hit anything. Okay, what do you got next?
Who do I have next?
Or I can go. I can go. Who do we have next? Let's go. Let's go. Jacobs, because I already spilt the beans. So
convince me, Chris.
Well, he did receive 64 targets last year. He has improved each year in that category, which has kind of been the knock against him. They don't use him enough through the air. I think a lot of that knock against him is he hasn't turned into a top 5 RB, fantasy RB. Who can dominate each touch, 70+%, maybe 80%, like a Najee or a CMC or a Cook.
He was never going to be a CMC. That's
kind of what I'm getting at. But he's at the beginning of the 4th right now. I've got him at ADP 401 based on Fantasy Football Calculator. So, again, 64 targets last year. He did only play 15, which on one hand you could be like, well, maybe he's always dinged up a little bit because that's the most games he's played. That's important to mention on the negative side of things. Or you could look at it like, hey, what if he were to play a full 16/17 game season? He's only 24 years old in running back years or whatever you want to call it. He is in a contract year. That's a narrative, but it's a narrative that usually shakes out pretty well. He should hit, in my just rough, I don't have a model or anything, statistical model or anything, folks, for projections, but I see him getting just over 1,000 rushing yards, 50 catches, and probably 10 rushing touchdowns. A lot of this has to do with me believing in the upgrade that the Vegas Raiders offense has received with Devontae Adams coming over, plus the progress they were making last year, and particularly relying on others with a dinged-up Darren Waller, going back to your Hunter Renfrow conversation there. His current, again, ADP has him going at the beginning of 4th as the RB21. I just feel like you're probably still talking about an RB2, going back to us saying he's no CMC, he's no Dalvin Cook, etc. But if you're talking like a RB15, like, I don't know, maybe floor, I think I'm in. But again, you're going to get some pushback because of Drake, I guess, returning and the addition of Zamir White. I just think Zamir White's a depth. I think Zamir White is a depth play, and I think touchdown numbers were decent enough for Jacobs to think he's going to get most of those chances in what I believe to be an improved offense.
2 things I gotta say. Mm-hmm. The only person that I hate more on the Raiders than Josh Jacobs is Kenyon Drake. I think Kenyon Drake is hot trash. You know who I don't think is hot trash?
Hunter Renfrow? I don't know.
Zamir White.
Oh, okay.
Is he kind of more of a traditional running back? Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I love Zamir White in Dynasty, and this is not so much redraft, but I think that I wasn't looking at, by the way, the difference between Fantasy Football Calculator and Fantasy Pros and ADP and RB ranks. Mm-hmm. Very similar. Very similar.
Good.
So in fact, not a big disparity there.
In fact, maybe that'll help just kind of for everybody's brains to be like, here's your average,
they're like one off on each. And
except for Brees.
No, I was talking about Josh Jacobs.
Oh, gotcha.
Each site, they're one off from each other.
Sorry, my bad.
Josh Jacobs. No, that's fine. Josh Jacobs, he was the RB16 last year. It was an ugly RB16. If you could give him points per game, it was brutal. It was
11
points per game.
Oh, 12? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 11 and a half or something. Yeah, but I don't know. I think like Montgomery. Like, you hate Montgomery too, but like these two guys are.
Oh no!
Oh, not this year. You used to hate him every year, every single year except for this year.
I was okay with him last year, I think.
Okay, I don't recall.
Maybe not.
But similar guys in terms of underwhelming, not loaded offenses. I don't want to say struggling team. Well, for the Bears, yeah, struggling, but the Raiders have been a little bit better lately. in terms of
here's my other problem with Josh
half their
Jacobs
games.
is that I don't know who it was in New England, whether it was Josh McDaniels, who is the Raiders' new head coach, or if it was Bill Belichick, the Patriots head coach, who was deciding how to use this running back by rotation, where you never knew which one was going to actually go off or not. That's what gives me a little hesitation with Josh Jacobs.
I think that's baked into the 401 ADP, the end of the third, beginning of the fourth ADP. I think there's a little concern for a committee, but not, clearly he's okay. Damian Harris. So speaking of running back by committee in New England, he was just fine last year for different reasons than what I named. I'm not expecting 15 rushing touchdowns from Jacobs. I might expect 15 total. I do expect 10 on the ground, but I'm not sure about him catching 5 through the air. But I digress. Supplement it with some receptions, as I mentioned. Supplement with it. I mean, I guess Harrison was around 1,000 yards, if I recall, maybe 900 something. Hey, top 24 guy, if not arguably top 15. Or right around 15. So, I don't know. That's where I'm at with Jacobs. I'm obviously feeling a little up on him lately through some research. So, we'll see what the training camp and preseason shows me. Maybe I do. I mean, obviously, Zamir White comes out preseason week 2. Or what's the big one? Week 3 is the one. How many do they play now? Anyway, the week
3.
where the
week
back
2 now.
Thank you. So, week 2 comes out week 2 and shows us something like, I know you don't want to put too much clout into preseason, but yeah, that could influence my overall opinion of Jacobs in 2022. But right now, I don't think there's anybody in his way. And I expect the offense to be better. Who you got next?
Let's do a quick check-in here, real quick. Give me some Jeopardy music here.
Oh, yeah, well, there's music playing. I could turn it up. But I've got another...
I'm getting there. I'm almost there. As of right now, PFF has the Las Vegas Raiders offensive line ranked as 30th overall.
I think
that's just
one way to go. Only one way to go.
Just a crap on your parade there.
Yeah, well, my parade is only a 4th-round pick for a running back who's going to get work.
Guess who's worst? The Bears. I don't know if I like that for David Montgomery now. We'll see. I think David Montgomery is going to be fine. Anyways, my next guy is actually a group of guys. I cheated a little bit, and I went the Broncos receivers, whether it's Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or should it be Tim Patrick, the guy that I'm interested in?
Nah.
The question... we'll get to Tim Patrick here in a second. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick. I think the correct answer is probably the cheapest one on draft day. It's going to be Tim Patrick because right now his ADP is wide receiver 60 or a 162nd overall. So free. Before you go all over me, Chris, I think Albert O, the tight end there, third-year tight end, also deserves some consideration, especially if you just completely, utterly just crapped on tight end in your draft. So Albert O maybe deserves some respect. Currently, Jerry Jeudy is the richest wide receiver, going at wide receiver 22 or 61st overall, which would be the beginning of the 7th. And Cortland Sutton is going as the wide receiver 26. So pretty similar, but Jerry Jeudy for some reason is the more expensive one, despite Jerry Jeudy doing a lot less than Cortland Sutton has overall. Sorry, I keep getting notifications here, and it's blowing my ears out.
Dang, desktop notifications.
Well, it's from my antivirus software, and I'm not sure why.
Oh,
anyways, so all right, kids, if you've never heard of a guy named Tim Patrick, I would like you to pop a squat and let me tell you a little tale of the man named Tim Patrick. Last year, he scored 1.4 less fantasy points than Cortland Sutton, and that was in one less game. he scored 55.4 more points than Jerry Jeudy last year. That was in 5 more games, I think. In 2020, Cortland Sutton tore his ACL in week 1, which was unfortunate for all of us who are really high on Cortland Sutton that year. So we'll kind of throw his season out the window because of injury. But Tim Patrick outscored the rookie Jerry Jeudy by 4.1 points and played in one less game than Jerry Jeudy that year, too. That was with Drew Lock, Teddy B, and Joe Flacco in the last 2 years.
Oh my God.
Tim Patrick also got a pretty decent 3-year, $34 million contract extension, too. So the Broncos obviously have liked him. He is also a 6'4" guy.
That is guaranteed.
I didn't write it down.
Oh, look, continue.
I'm pretty much done. Just because I don't know, like there's other than Judy's rookie year, which if many people forget, I don't have the quote on this, but he did have some drops. He had a lack of touchdowns. Yes, that was probably some of that was pretty poor quarterback play, and now Russell Wilson is in town, and I guess you're going to have to plant your flag for Mr. Unlimited Limited's guys. Who's going to be his main man? You know, his bottom B. I mean, with Tim Patrick, if you miss out on Jeudy and Sutton, why not just draft Tim Patrick real late in your draft? You know, he's been fantasy relevant for 2 years in a row. Granted, it's on the low end, but maybe with Russell Wilson, he takes a step up. Maybe it's like Russ Woods in Seattle, and it's going to be DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett or other guy. And it's there. None of them are going to overlap at all. Or on the extreme side, Russell Wilson has found himself in another Seattle situation where Denver has 2 good running backs, a pretty solid defense. They're going to just run the crap out of the ball. I don't personally think that's the case because I don't think that they looked at Russell Wilson looked at the front office in Denver and said, "I'm not throwing the ball like 17, 20 times a game. I want to throw the ball. I want to come here and beat your quarterback." And they said, "Okay, yes, please."
I wouldn't quite put it that way in terms of another Seattle, but I am leaning a little run heavy. Let me finish though. So we both probably agree he's not Peyton when he came to Denver because Peyton threw a bunch, threw 50 touchdowns. Okay,
Peyton was also coming off.
It's not that we don't believe that Russell couldn't throw 50. I just think he wins in other ways, not just his arm. Although his arm
is on the ground,
absolutely adequate. Yeah, and whether it's behind the line of scrimmage or literally running, that's up for debate. But what I was going to say was, I just think with the personnel they have, I'm going to lean towards the not the most expensive, the middle, Sutton. I'm going to lean towards the quintessential, or should I say, the prototypical alpha guy, WR1. You know what I mean? Like, he looks the part. He's shown us a little bit in one season in Detroit, if I recall, 10 plus touchdowns that he could kind of carry.
Excuse me?
Did I just get the wrong person? Oh, I was thinking Galladay. Sorry, I get Sutton and Galladay confused a lot. Sutton's been in Denver the whole time. So a couple years ago in Denver with not much at quarterback, did he not catch 10 plus touchdowns and showed us, maybe there's some signs of a true WR1. So I'm going to lean towards that.
That was like 2019 maybe?
Yeah, I think they're going to be a play action heavy team. Going back to my point about Russell running around a little bit. Exactly, because of the running backs in the backfield and the quarterback in the backfield. I think they're going to, and plus Denver's always been really good at this the zone run scheme, play action. I know Shanahan's are gone, I get it, but Denver's always kind of erred on that side of the aisle in terms of let's make sure the run is winning us some games here. Not to the detriment of Russ. I think Russ will be able to cook, especially when they're down, although I believe in their defense, going back to the run game. But when they need it, I think they have no problem taking the reins off a guy like Russell. So maybe at that point, maybe tight ends and Jeudy and whoever and Patrick can get involved. But I'm going to err on the side of the guy that looks the part. I'm also not having to pay a lot for him. But yeah, I don't blame you for going for the cheaper option. Tim Patrick could show us something in the red zone, you know. As far as
he's just a big slot guy, essentially, is what he is. He's not the fastest guy in the world.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There you go. I think Sutton can get more of that action on the outside because of Russ's arm. But
I know we took a break, Chris, but we're running a little long, so why don't we just keep on going?
Okay, no, I'm good without a break, and I've good bringing up my next guy if you don't mind. We've touched on all.
I do mind, but go ahead.
You know, one of my guys was Javonte while we're on Denver. My apologies. ADP of 205, so a mid-second round pick. You know, I almost even thought about pushing back and like, should I not like that ADP? Should I put them on the next show? I'm still erring on the side of talent here. I'm still erring on the side of a non-50-50 split, more like at least a 60-40. I think Javonte is going to show us a little bit more through the air. Speaking about Russell and throwing the ball around a little bit. You know, so I'm not saying Gordon's going away, but I'm also, you know, have included Breece Hall in this show. I don't think Carter's going away. I think these guys can exist in a copacetic situation. Well, copacetic, I mean, still the 1A is going to dominate. So I just want to mention Devontae real quick. I think as of, mid. You know, I take it back. I maybe should have included him in the next show. 205. That's a little steep in mid-July. That's my second running back, or
according to Fantasy Pros, he's mid second, so whatever.
So we're
pretty
on
close.
The same page there. Anyway,
yeah.
I'll move on from Javonte, but I did have him on my initial show sheet, so I wanted to bring him up before we moved on from Denver. I've got another running back, and then I can be done. How about that?
Okay, 1 second here while I do a little math. We'll just call it 341 and times about 6. That's 204. Sorry, I'm doing a little math here on what happened last year with
the 204. Or
no, with what happened between the Denver running backs. So to combine, they scored a little over 341 points. And I'm saying if Javonte Williams gets 60% of that, that'll be 204 points. That'll end up him being the
top
two.
12.
That's going to be
12.
the RB. That's going to be the RB9.
Yeah, I was like, that's top 12 easy. Yeah. So, you know, we're projecting
there's value there, man.
That's at the 205. Yeah. So maybe I'm a little more on the fence than I thought when I initially included him in my notes. But you bring up a very good point.
If you think about it that way, and if he gets, say, Melvin Gordon gets hurt, and that percentage goes up to 75-80%. Whoa, Nelly, dude.
And hey, at the end of the day, show us who else is on the board in that ballpark, you know? I mean, that's the crux of the situation, you know? Who else
I believe they play in a field, Chris.
You know what I meant. I had an ADP sheet up earlier, and then I looked
Next guy I have is Amon-Ra St. Brown surprise.
All right. There you go. I like it. I didn't include any receivers. I feel deficient, but no, please go on. I love this tab.
Chris, I have a confession to make, and it's a pretty bad one.
You're in love with
Brace yourself.
St. Brown.
I think I'm becoming a Lions fan.
That's gonna be. You're gonna leave the Colts for the Lions.
No, but the Lions are gonna be like my second team.
Your NFC team.
Yeah, I hate doing that, but if I'm, they're my underdog team for the year. Let's put it that way.
I have no problem doing that, but I just
last year it was kind of the Chargers. This year I'm gonna make it the Lions. You know. I just love what this GD team is doing, man.
I think they call that a bandwagon, Josh.
I hate you.
Just messing with you. That was a perfect.
Go over here and cry now. You're being mean.
I even did never mind.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Let's put it that way.
I'm drinking the whiskey.
I just love that. I love it so much. I wish the Colts had taken Carson Wentz and traded them to the Rams for Jared Goff, so that Jared Goff could be on the Colts. And I know that doesn't work out without the existence of time travel, but just work with me here, damn it. Work with me. I mean, I've said it before. Goff had Amon-Ra St. Brown playing at an elite level by the end of the season. The wide receiver 3 from week 13 on. That's ridiculous how good ARSB it was. I'm going to keep saying ASMR, but ARSB. He's going out as the 70th overall, the wide receiver 27. That is mind-boggling. Jerry Jeudy is ahead of him. Chris Godwin, who could easily miss the beginning of the season. Mike Williams, the inconsistent flash in the pan wonder. I'm wondering what I'm missing here, man. Like, I know Hawkinson's going to be back, and that's going to maybe influence that a little bit, but what else would drive his value down to wide receiver 27 off the board? Is it DJ Chark? DJ Chark had one good partial season and hasn't been able to be healthy or effective at the rest of his career so far.
Yeah,
Jameson Williams, he's probably going to be. I'm projecting him to be on the PUP list to start the season, or at the very, very best, he's going to be out there week one, limping around, just probably bringing on further injury, which is usually for an ACL injury and a wide receiver. It's usually a high ankle sprain. Like statistically, it is. I don't understand why wide receiver 27. If he's going to slip that far, I will definitely be reaching for him multiple rounds to make sure that he's on my team come draft season. It's ridiculous. And you know what? Maybe Jared Goff turns into a goof again, and he ends up.
Yeah, I mean, we have to include that. We absolutely have to include that in the list. Of
I just thought of that.
I mean, we have to. But
Lions
I think that's
have one of the best offensive lines in football, man. It is Jared Goff is playing behind a better offensive line now than he probably ever had in St. Louis, St. Louis and LA for that matter. You know?
Yeah.
Well, as we said earlier, a better offensive line gives you more protection in the pocket, brings up better holes for the running backs to run through. Speaking of which, just a real side note, do you know where Jamal Williams is going according to Fantasy Pros right now? It's like RB.
I'm sorry, Jameson Williams?
Jamal Williams, the running back in Detroit.
Oh, sorry, right. Where?
It's like RB 60. That's like criminally low.
I mean, Swift hasn't been healthy.
Yeah, and they had that rookie come in last year, Jamar Jefferson, who was probably better than Jamal Williams. I don't know, man. I think that's definitely a guy to keep on your radar. Anyways, what's your last person?
I got logged in. I've got one more person. Sorry, I've been trying to get logged in Sleeper just in case we wanted to use them. But I've got one more guy to talk about. A big surprise at the running back position again. Ironically or unironically, I suppose, one pick higher in ADP, Aaron Jones. I feel a bit more strongly about this given our very recent Javonte conversation. Let me be clear. In terms of like dynasty, I am a AJ Dillon believer. I also.
I'm sorry, Chris. Are you talking about the Quad Father?
The Quad Father, yes, as it were. And I'm a believer that Aaron Jones' contract, the way it works out with Green Bay, especially given how competitive they may or may not be without a true wide receiver, like I think he's as good as gone. He didn't sign a contract yet, did he? Like, Aaron Jones. Like, we're still on 1 year.
No, he's on a second contract.
Yeah, he got a big one a couple years ago, and I think there's an out or it's just up.
I think this is the end of it this year.
Yeah, and just what they're going to have to pay to keep him, especially given the percent how much he's catching the ball, how much he's probably going to contribute to their offense percentage-wise, both on the ground and through the air this year. They're going to be like, dude, we can't afford that. We were talking like Zeke contract, like don't do it. You know, not like an Eckler contract. Speaking of Eckler, I'll get to that in a minute. So he has averaged 65 targets a season since becoming the starter, which, as best I could tell from statistics, was the past 3 seasons. Also,
sounds about right.
An average catch percent of 75%. It has improved each season up to a high of 80% last year. And my probably biggest argument here is...
Wait. Yeah, Are you saying that he's going to catch 85% of his passes this year?
No, I'm just saying he's averaged 75%, and he has improved each year for a career high of 80% last year. But yeah, I mean...
So if he's going to improve from 80%, 85 is in the realm of possibilities?
If he improves again, yes, absolutely it is.
Okay. All right.
And maybe my biggest tout slash argument is there's no wide receiver 1 in Green Bay. Hey, I'm a dynasty guy. I have Allen Lazard on my dynasty squad. How much did it cost me to have him there? next to nothing, folks. We all understand that. I mean, maybe he was throwing on a trade. Maybe it was a $0 waiver pickup. I digress. My point is, yeah, I mean, I assume Lazard's going to get a ton more targets. I assume the healthy tight end, what's his face that I used to like, Robert Tonyan, is going to get a ton of targets. But let's be honest here. It's going to be a lot of Aaron Jones. It's going to be a feature back role. It's going to be, yes, we'll make sure he stays healthy. Obviously, A.J. Dillon's going to have a role. Furthermore, A.J. Dillon's probably the goal line guy. But off only 4 rushing touchdowns last year. I mean, where can Aaron Jones go? Down? Maybe up a little bit? Maybe
Jones,
maybe
before
6
A.J.
touchdowns?
Dillon, though,
He
Aaron
was
Jones
fine
was
in the red zone.
It was
yeah.
an okay goal line guy.
I think it was the year before that. I think it was 2020, maybe 2019, but I think it was 2020 where he was. I don't know how high he finished, but it was top 5 RB, if not top 3. He was really good that year, and he scored both from far out. He had home runs, but he also had his fair share of red zone.
He also bunted it in too.
Yeah, but let's be clear. A.J. Dillon's probably the guy who's going to take that role, but that doesn't mean that Aaron Jones can't prove upon 4 rushing touchdowns. Again, not a de facto contract, or not a contract year, but kind of a de facto contract year. I think he can catch upwards of 10 touchdowns as a running back. 10 touchdowns. I think he'll line him up in slot and whatnot. I know that's an overplayed narrative in July when it comes to running backs. They might line him up at the slot. Tony Pollard and this guy and that guy. Yeah, I know it usually doesn't work out, but let's be honest. Is there a better receiving running back in the league than Aaron Jones?
Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Is there a better one than those two? No.
J.D. McKissick, maybe? Weirdly said, but might be true.
I rest my case. I think we're looking at an Eckler-esque season for an entire round
really
cheaper.
himself.
Yeah, but Eckler's also at the
Saquon
the
Barkley?
10. Well, Eckler's ADP is like the 104. Like for an entire round cheaper, you might get quote this
Naeem
year's
Hines?
Eckler. Just stop. Again, I think we're looking at an Eckler-esque season for an entire round cheaper than you can get Austin Eckler. So, you're paying. A quick side note, if you look at Eckler, you're pretty much paying for Eckler's season if you look at his ADP right now. Like
that guy that went to the Dolphins from Arizona.
I might be out on
Chase
Eckler.
Edmonds.
Are you talking about better receiving backs still?
Yeah.
No. The last couple you've named are not better. Besides CMC. Including McKissick, including McKissick and Hines, and
without looking at stats, those are pretty good guesses. Okay,
they're wrong guesses, but they're close. So
you don't know that for a fact.
Okay, fine. Yes,
you look it up while I do my last guy, which is a cheat again, and it is Houston Texans running backs.
You cheated again. I'm ending the show now. I'm ending the show now. I'm just kidding.
Okay, cool.
You're up.
Bye.
You're up.
So we do fantasy football. If you want to stick around, and good night, folks. Okay, so now we're going to do Damian Pierce and Marlon Mack now that everyone's tuned out.
Wow.
These are late round
dive.
running backs for the Houston Texans, late rounds in fantasy drafts. But
Keith watches the show all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
Does he really?
We've already no, he doesn't. I was kidding. I couldn't think of a better rival in the current leagues. It doesn't matter. It's dynasty. We've already drafted.
Hi, Keith.
We'll edit all this out.
You jerk. I like what Mike Lennon has done for the Houston Texans. I'm sorry, I meant Davis Mills. What Davis Mills brought to the table last year, can he sustain it and become a better quarterback this year? I don't know. It's hard to say that a guy slipped through the draft process and fell to the Texans in the 3rd round 2 years ago. Last year. Sorry.
That's fine.
But weirder things have happened. It's just in this day and age, it's unheard of for someone to slip through the draft process like that. Like it's a starting quarterback. It's rare, extremely rare. Tony Romo was the last one.
If I recall, I think he threw the most touchdowns out of rookie quarterbacks last year with 16.
He might have.
I'm pretty sure he did.
That's saying a lot for the craptastic class of the rookie quarterbacks. Anyways, but like any other day, I got out here. Can he sustain it and become an even better quarterback? Blah blah blah. Weirder things have happened. They really have. But this Texans offensive line, I believe, can be better this year than it was last year. They spent one of their first-round picks on Kenyon Green, presumably to play left guard for them. They already have Justin Britt, who did struggle at pass protection last year, but he was a pretty decent run blocker. And we're talking about the Texans running backs, so that's where I'm going with there. And they also have two good tackles, in Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard. So a better offensive line. We've gone through this many times over in this show. I swear I'm not drunk. Well, I'm really not, but I just want to keep repeating that. A good offensive line helps the team. Teams win in the trenches. It's a stupid adage, but it's absolutely true. It's actually not stupid. It's just...
Well, and it's important to mention how quickly somebody can turn over their offensive line with, let's say, 2 or 3 additions, because there's only 5, obvious, or at least 5 starters.
Even one.
And then, of course, how important depth is.
Difference.
But like a first or second round draft pick and like one good signing. It happens. Yep. It happens. It's hard to do. It's hard to make them really good between each season. It's also hard to, like, unless you're just not trying to get better. Like, come on, like, where else can we go from 30 or 32 or 29? Like, yeah. No, continue, please.
So as of right now, I'm sorry, I can't find Marlon Mack's ADP. I didn't write it down. My bad. But Dameon Pierce, I think Mack's going a little bit ahead of him. I can't find it at the moment, but Dameon Pierce is going at RB 47 according to Fantasy Pros. That's I hate to keep saying criminally low, but that's pretty criminally low for a guy who has a fair amount of potential.
I've got RB 61, 169 overall for Mack is the first one I found.
Okay, so we'll go with that too. Like, there's a big difference there, but and really, Dameon Pierce. I usually like to go with the cheaper guy, but Marlon Mack did tear his Achilles in 2020. Yes, we're almost 2 years removed from that now, but it could be 4 years, and I still wouldn't care. Traditionally, running backs do not come back from this injury. NFL players in general do not. Mm-hmm. They're a shadow of the talent they were. Jimmy Graham tried it, and it kind of worked out. He wasn't really fantasy relevant, but he was kind of.
I think he had
NFL
one fantasy relevant season where he caught like 10 touchdowns, but I think that was based solely on a red zone role with
the Bears.
Bay or Seattle.
The Bears.
It was Bears. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So I'm kind of out on Marlon Mack, but if you're sitting there and I have him at RB 50 on Fantasy Pro, so.
I found Pierce, if that matters. They've got him at RB 49, 139 overall.
Close. That's pretty close compared to Fantasy Pros. So it's kind of
that was
websites.
Fantasy Pros. Maybe different stipulation. I just clicked to a tab I had open. It was like, oh, there's Fantasy Pros ADP, and
you're not
Pierce.
using half PPR scoring then.
That's anyways,
but that's fine.
I just pulled up a web page.
That's okay. No big deal.
Anyways, standard.
Dameon Pierce, he's the rookie. I want to go after him. Obviously, according to Fantasy Pros, he's going late in drafts. Like 137th overall. That's what, the 12th, 13th round right there. Like, that is the 13th round actually.
Thank you, Fantasy Pros, for making math fun.
I like math. Numbers are my friends. They're not Chris's friend because, well, I'm not going to insult Chris on the air. So,
all right, back to Josh.
Anyways, Dameon Pierce, a real late round target. I kind of my list went, by ADP overall, and I was just like, I got down to it. And I was just like, whoa, for a potential starting running back on an NFL team, free, more or less. Yes, please. Dameon Pierce isn't the most talented guy in the world, but it's better than nothing. Would you rather have Dameon Pierce, or would you rather have, the third string running back for, the 49ers? which may be Tyrion Hyde Pierce or whatever his name is.
Is he in that same range anyway? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pierce. I'm
Yeah,
gonna bank on the Achilles injury with Mac, and I'm gonna go Pierce there. Yeah, for sure.
Would you rather have Chris Carson or Damian Pierce?
No,
I don't even think
yeah.
Chris Carson's going to be playing this year, but
yeah. I mean, maybe eventually he will. Literally, like
Isaiah
be
Spiller
active
or Damian
in a
Pierce?
game, but other than that, Pierce.
Naeem Hines or Pierce?
Pierce.
I'd go Hines there, but that's me.
It's close. I know Hines will get work. You know, I don't have to dig
He's
that
a working
deep.
girl.
In a 10 or 12 team redraft league, I don't usually have to dig that deep. I'll be honest.
Did I say Isaiah Spiller?
You did, and the reason I paused was because of Dynasty long term. I'm like, the offense.
I'm talking redraft.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I went with Pierce, because I'm like, this year, better chance to start? Yeah, I think it's Pierce. I think it's Pierce. Or take the role, if you will, eventually. However you want to phrase it. Yeah. Was that all my guys? That might be all my guys.
That is all your guys. That is all my guys. We don't have time to do a mock draft because we just ran a little long. That's fine. I need to duck out. I have actual work to do.
Hey man, it's real life. It's a stream. We got our points out there, and we'll
we got our points.
Tune into the pod.
If you happen to miss the stream, you can always listen to us in podcast format, pretty much wherever you get podcasts. Not Amazon Music because, well, they just don't want to play ball. Until next week, you can check us out. Same bat time, same bat channel. We went over
said no bats.
Same
bats.
amazing time, same amazing channel.
Yeah.
And that is 8:00 Central Time. Come join the chat, have a lively discussion with us. Honestly, it's going to be more of a Q&A at the end of the show. We'll be doing some more mock drafts. I believe next week we haven't decided on a title, but we're going to do some landmine players that could potentially trip you up and torpedo your team. Probably going to be some more earlier
there might be other
guys for that one, but
there might be other Arsenal conversations. Frags and mortars and stuff. We'll see. We'll see.
Some howitzers, some
what they use in Nam, napalm mines or
some bouncing
tripwires.
Napalm.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Was a powder.
Okay. This is getting off the rails real fast.
Yep.
My fault.
Until next week, like I said, 8:00 Central Standard Time. You know where you live. You can do the math. We don't know where you live. 8:00 that time. That's when the stream starts. Usually it's actually a couple minutes after that, just to get everyone in. So check us out next week. We will be back with some landmine players or something of that nature. Till then, have a good night, everyone.
Later, everybody. Like, share, subscribe. See you next week.
Thank you for